Do you wait for everything to be perfect and lined up straight before you make a choice? How hard are you trying to get everything in your life right? What if jumping in and getting messy is one of the ways to find out what works for you? Discover how being willing to mess up can create the phenomenal life you truly desire. Get ready to quit judging and start embracing all of your messy adventures. Now, here's your host, self-declared messy living expert, Petrina Fava.
Hello and welcome to Messy Adventures in Living. I'm your host, Petrina Fava, and it is Monday morning at the moment, but thank you for joining us today or in the future, wherever you are, whenever you are. So grateful that you are here listening or participating in the show. So if this is your first time listening to Messy Adventures in Living, here's a little blurb about me and the show. My name is Petrina. I am and be a whole bunch of different things in the world. I like to show up in a bunch of different ways. I like to play in a bunch of different places. I am a radio show host. I'm also an author of 3 great books. They are called Conscious Conception, Fertility, Pregnancy, and Birth, Possibilities in Parenting, and The Power of Releasing Judgment. You can find those on Amazon.com, or you can find the links on my website, petrinafava.com. I'm also a registered nurse. I've been a pediatric nurse for almost 19 years here in Toronto. I'm a mom of 3 very cool kids. They are 12 and 9 and turning 6 very soon. I also am an access consciousness, bars, and body process facilitator. I use the tools of this modality called access consciousness in my own life to create change, to have fun, to stir up shit. And I also, if you would like some information about this modality called Access Consciousness, you can find it at accessconsciousness.com. We will be talking about some of the tools that it offers during the show. I also like to get my hands dirty in the kitchen, but not cooking food. I like to create some 100% natural body products, and my line of body products is called Naturally Happy Body, and you can find those at naturallyhappybody.com. Messy Adventures in Living is a radio show that's really all about jumping in and getting messy with your choices and choosing and then getting awareness and then choosing again and then getting awareness instead of waiting for everything to be perfect before you make choices. And why do I know about this? Probably because I've spent my entire life making sure everything was perfect before I did anything. And finally, after 42 years, I'm realizing that that does not work, and it's not fun, and it's not living. And so I am here encouraging you to jump in and get messy with your choices and start living. So that's what we do on this show. So what is up today? Today, our show is called The Potency of Anger. Are you angry, furious, pissed off at all the lies, the unkindness, and the outright bullshit that's going on in this world? Awesome. Me too. And I'm done with all the hoping and praying and wishing that things would change. When did you learn that anger was wrong? When did you decide that your anger was right? What if you decided anger is that it actually isn't? I wonder if the best anger management program is recognizing where your anger is actually potency. What massive change could we create if we acknowledge that, if we acknowledged anger as potency? So that's what we're going to look at today. That's what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to try and give you some tools to recognize the difference between crazy, losing my shit anger and anger as potency that can create change. So what is all of this in our world? Let me tell you how this show topic came to be. Last week there was a shooting in Orlando, Florida that killed 50 plus people. And there, of course, when these events happen, social media is abuzz with opinions and points of view, for which I am grateful because many of them create my radio shows. So I was scrolling through my Facebook feed and came across a post that I said something to the effect that anger doesn't change anything, kindness does and love does. And that was cool. And then someone responded by saying, actually by rejecting this idea and by saying that her anger was justified and that she thought that it's a crock of shit that love changes anything, and that people should be angry at this event, and that people are justified and right in being angry that someone walked into a club and shot 50 plus people and killed 50 plus people. And so there was a lot of back and forth about that and some comments about how anger is not productive. And I was reading it and I was like, wow, okay, this is interesting. There was something about the woman's rebuttal and the rejection of this notion that love changes things that was true for me. There was something there that I was aware of, some energy that I was aware of that was light and that was true for me. And when I looked at it and when I asked some questions, I realized actually that what she was talking about was potency, but she was calling it anger. And it made me wonder how much we are confusing anger and rage and fury and hate and all these emotions with something else, which is the potency that comes up in us that often drives us to change and that can really create change when we acknowledge it as such. And so the show was born. So what are some of your points of view about anger? When did you decide that anger was wrong? When were you taught to control your anger? And what has that created for you in your life? So we are taught early, everything actually, but one of the things that we're taught very early as children is that it's wrong to be angry, right? I think of my little 5.5-year-old in kindergarten. And kindergarteners who explode or are angry are often very much scolded and told not to be angry. Don't get angry. Take a breath. Count to 3. That's not nice. It's wrong to be angry in this world. And it is especially wrong for children to be angry. Children absolutely should never be angry. And we teach that to them, and we tell them that it should be controlled. What if what they are experiencing is potency and not anger? And how can we teach them, and how can we see what's different? That's what we're going to explore today. So in Access Consciousness shows us some things about anger. Basically, it looks at anger and explains it in a variety of ways. So anger can be at least 3 things. One of them is that it is something that we call a distractor implant. So the idea is that this is something, a belief that we have, an idea that we subscribe to, that distracts us from the truth, that distracts us from our knowing and our awareness, that clouds us and puts us into reaction instead of action. Okay, so when anger is rage, when it's fury, when it's hate, it can be something that's coming up for us that is a distractor implant. Oftentimes it's an automatic response that is just something where we just completely fly off the handle and it's rage-filled and it's hatred-filled. Okay. The other thing about anger is that it is often our lie detector. How much do you get just completely off your rocker angry when you know that someone is lying to you, or when you know that you're lying to yourself? So often anger shows up as a lie detector, your lie detector. The other thing that anger can be is potency. And like I just explained, this is often very misunderstood and misapplied. What does potency mean? So, of course, I went to the dictionary, as I like to do, because I'm a little bit of a word nerd. And I looked up anger and I looked up potency. And this is what Etymology Online gave me. So Etymology Online is a really cool dictionary that shows you the meaning of words way back from like the 12th century when a lot of these words were originally created. And it gives you some insight into what they originally meant and shows you how much we've twisted a lot of our words into meaning something different than they really do. So what I found when I looked up anger is these words: distress, suffering, anguish, agony, ill will, hostile attitude, a rash and foolish person. So then I looked up potency, and I found, I looked up potent, and I found able, capable, possible, potential, that which is possible. So connected to anger are distress, suffering, anguish, right, which is physical pain, your body is in pain, agony, ill will, hostility, rash, foolishness. And potency is capacity, right? Able, capable, possible, that which is possible. Potent speaks to capacity and possibility, whereas anger speaks to distress, suffering, anguish, hostility, and foolishness. And foolishness and stupidity in Access, we often use those words to describe something that is unaware. Foolishness, stupidity, unaware. And anger as a distractor implant, as we talk about in with the tools of Access Consciousness, is it's a distractor implant because it makes you stupid. It makes you unaware. You are not aware while you are in the throes of anger. Potency is different. Potency is about capacity and about possibility. Awesome. So now we know what we're talking about. Why differentiate between potency and anger? Well, what can you create with potency, and what gets created with anger? So what are some examples of when you experience this in your life? What is happening in the chat room? Hi, Eleanor. Growing up, when people in my family got angry, they lost control, and often things turned to physical abuse. Awesome. Very cool. So thank you. So what is it that we have? How do we know what's anger and what's potency? So this is what potency is not. Potency is not control. And that's what Eleanor in the chat room is just speaking to. Growing up, people in my family got angry, they lost control, and often things turned to physical abuse. So this is not potency. I mean, it might have been, I don't know what one of the situations might have been happening in your family, Eleanor, but it may have been originally potency, and then there's control, and they block their awareness, and then things turn to physical abuse. And often initially what spurs the anger, it could be a lie, it could be a moment of potency, it could be that you're aware of the bullshit of something and you want to change it, and so it shows up as anger. What happens is we judge our anger, and then as soon as we start judging something, it gets twisted completely and utterly out of control and turns into something that is not productive and not creative and not a capacity anymore. So, alcoholic father, yes, awesome. So let's, if you look at alcohol and how that affects anger, what is the link between alcohol and anger? Well, what takes over when you're drinking alcohol? Are you being you when you're drinking alcohol, especially to excess? And what is control? Who is in control when you're under the influence of alcohol and drugs? Are you in control, or is something else in control? That's not potency. That's letting something else control you and lashing out in anger. Okay, so let's take a break and come back and talk a little bit more about how to know the difference between potency and anger, so that you can use potency to create a change rather than crushing crushing your universe and crushing the universe of everyone else. So let's take a break. You are listening to Messy Adventures in Living. I'm your host, Petrina Fava, and we are talking about the potency of anger today. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Do you wait until all the traffic lights are green before you get in your car? Of course you don't. Are you waiting until you have everything perfect to begin living? Most of us have learned not to take any steps until we have all the information to make the right choice. What if the opposite is true? What if it's choice that creates awareness? Are you willing to make lots of messy choices so you can begin to see the possibilities that you didn't even think existed? Listen for Messy Adventures in Living radio show with self-declared messy living expert Petrina Fava every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific on a2zen.fm. How much more expansive would your life be if you were willing to get messy with your choices?
What if there's nothing wrong with you? What if you're far greater than you've ever given yourself credit for? What if it's time to know the gift and the contribution you are to the world and to like yourself a lot more? Hi, my name is Dane here. 13 years ago, I started to truly ask questions. Actually, I started to be the question, and everything changed for me. Asking questions opens doors to infinite possibilities. And it's not about finding the answer. It's about being the question. Always. What I'm inviting you to step into is something that Einstein, Marie Curie, Newton, Da Vinci, Gandhi, Picasso, and Aristotle all knew to be true. What if no question is too big or too small? What if anything is possible for you? What if together we could create a kinder, gentler, happier world? Is now the time? Go to beingyouclass.com and sign up for a free video series, My Gift to You. beingyouclass.com. What if you, truly being you, are the gift and change this world requires? beingyouclass.com.
You're listening to Messy Adventures in Living with Petrina Fava. To participate in today's show, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. In the UK, 033-0001-0625. Or you can Skype us at a2zen.fm. You can also ask questions or comment by email by sending to Petrina at petrinafava.com. Now, here's Petrina with more messy adventures.
Welcome back to Messy Adventures in Living. Thanks for hanging in there through the commercials. We are talking about the potency of anger today. Very cool topic. So just before we went to break, I was just talking a little bit about how the show came to be, and last week there was a shooting in Orlando, Florida that killed 53 people. I believe it was 53. It was 50 plus people anyways. And so a lot of talk about how we should be dealing with this issue, whether we should be sending love or whether we should be getting angry. And so I'm talking about the potency of anger today because I know that many of us have been made wrong and made to feel wrong and taught that anger is wrong. And I am challenging that point of view, and I am saying, no, what if anger is not right? And it's not wrong? What if it's potency? And what if we used our potency to change the world instead of pushing down the potency that we be and covering it up and sweeping it under the rug and holding it down with such fury because we think it's wrong? Nothing gets changed with sadness, and nothing gets changed with meekness. Kindness and love and gratitude absolutely change the world, beyond a doubt. And you know what? So does potency. And you don't have to make yourself wrong if you're getting angry for the events that you see happening around the world. You do not have to make yourself wrong. But we'll talk a little bit about what we can talk about today is how to know what is the difference between rage, fury, hate, and potency. and how you can use those to change some shit in your world and in our world. So if you're feeling a little bit weird while you're listening to this radio show, awesome, join the club. This is a very interesting topic to talk about energetically. How much unconsciousness is going on in the world around this topic, and how much is the unconsciousness of the planet also contributing to those who want to keep anger in place in order to keep those of us who desire to create change and desire to create greater from talking about anger as potency, because we all know that that's what's going to create some shit. So we are going to clear some of this energy using a tool from Access Consciousness. So everything, all of the unconsciousness surrounding the potency of anger, all of the clouds that you are perceiving, all the smoke screens that you are perceiving, would you be willing to destroy and then create all of them, right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds? And everywhere you are unwilling to see, acknowledge where anger, your anger, is a creative force and can be a creative force in the world, will you please destroy and uncreate all of that? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds, and all of the oaths, vows, fealties, communalities, and swearings you ever took to anyone or anything to keep your potency hidden from the world because you bought the lie that it could destroy. Will you destroy and uncreate all of that and own your potency so that you can destroy all of the unconsciousness on the planet and create something greater? And everything that is will you destroy and uncreate. And revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate all of those oaths, vows, fealties, and communalities. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. All right, so if you're wondering what the heck I just said, all of that is the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. I am not going to get into the explanation of it on the show because it would take me the entire hour. So you can go to theclearingstatement.com and get some information there. It's basically a way to clear the crap, the energy, the limiting energy that comes up when you talk about something. And so we were just talking about anger, and who knows what that was all bringing up for all of us, and so we just used the clearing statement to clear it. Okay, so let's talk some more about the potency of anger. All right, so I wanted to tell you that yesterday, so in my description of this show, I wrote up the description of the show like a week and a half ago or something, and I wrote, what have you said anger actually is that it isn't, and I wonder if the best anger management program is recognizing where your anger is actually potency. And it's so cool because thank you, universe, for putting that sentence into my head, because yesterday, as I was sitting at my computer, tapping into the energy of this show today, I got these words in my head again, anger management, and I kept remembering that there's a movie called Anger Management with Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson. And so I watched it last night, and I've seen it before, but I haven't watched it in years, and I don't remember movies. Like, I can watch a movie and then watch it again later, and as if it was the first time. And so I watched it again, and it was awesome, and I'm so glad I watched it because it gave me such a new level of awareness that I didn't have when I first watched this movie. If you get a chance, please watch this. This is awesome. Even if you've watched it before, watch it again, because you have some new information and you have some new awarenesses, and you'll watch it with very new eyes. So basically, what happens in this movie is that Adam Sandler is a character, starts off when he's a little boy, like probably 7 or 8, and he's about to kiss a girl, and some bully comes up and pulls his pants down, and everybody laughs at him, and that's it, and it just cuts there, and then it goes to 25 years later, and here's this adult who's very calm and very almost a little bit meek and a little bit nervous and a sweet guy. And so basically what happens through the course of the movie is that he gets on an airplane, and he sits beside somebody who's extremely annoying, and you can see that you can see, the image of the fire rising, right? Like you can see he's getting irritated, but he's like trying to keep it down, and then a series of events happens. He's ignored by the and he's getting angry, but he's like trying to keep it down. But then they are provoking him, and they're saying, stop being rude, stop. And he's like, I'm not being rude, I'm being very polite. Well, don't be rude to me, and don't be abusive, and all this. And the end of the story, he gets tasered, and the flight has to land, and he lands in court. And so the judge tells him that he has to have anger management classes, and he's like, what the hell, I didn't even say anything. Here I am, like, trying to be the most perfect, meek, polite person, and I'm going to anger management? What? So he goes to anger management, and the therapist is this very irreverent kind of guy who has very unorthodox ways of being anger management therapist. And basically what he's doing is provoking him throughout the movie, provoking him to get angry. It seems provoking. And it's really cool because it is exactly this concept. It is exactly this, like, he made anger wrong, and then he's spent his whole life with this pent-up potency trying to keep it down. And you can see the difference between his anger, I'm saying that with air quotes, and the anger of the other members of his anger management group, because his anger is always related to a lie. If you pay attention, you'll see that every time he gets angry, it's because there's a lie. So his lie detector and his potency are going off like crazy, but he is misidentifying it, and he's labeling it because I guess he learned that anger is wrong, and he's trying to keep it down. The other people in his group are not necessarily responding to a lie or a potency. They have what we just call fury and rage and hate. Very cool. And so then throughout the movie, he continues on, and every time he responds, he shows his potency, and every time he owns his potency, he actually progresses to the next level in his therapy. It's awesome. If you have a chance, please watch it, because it's a great example of someone who's learned that he's wrong. He's keeping his anger down, his potency down, and the lie detector in him is going off like crazy, and he's learned to keep it down. Anyway, it's a really great movie. Watch it even if you've watched it before. Okay, so let's talk some more about how have we misidentified potency as anger. So what is it that potency of anger is not? So potency is not control. We are not using anger to control people. Often people will use anger, rage, fury, and hate to control others, in an attempt to control others and put them into reaction, which is what happens when you're using anger as a distractor implant. When your anger is showing up as a distraction, it's distracting you from your awareness. It's distracting you from the truth, because it's putting you into reaction instead of action. It takes you out of choice. So if your anger is taking you out of choice, and if you find yourself reacting, this is not potency. That doesn't mean that it's wrong. Please get this. That doesn't mean that it's wrong. You need to ask some questions. What is this? Is this a distractor implant going off? What is the potency in this that I'm not acknowledging? What is the lie here? What is the lie, spoken or unspoken, that I am not acknowledging? So even if you're going off in anger and you recognize that it's a distractor implant, or it's a pattern, or it's a reaction, don't make yourself wrong. Stop and ask a question. What is the potency here? What's right about this that I'm not getting? What am I aware of? What is the potency that I can acknowledge? So often you will see that there is a lie happening, and that is infuriating you. And if you stop and you ask some questions, you can turn that into potency that will create a dramatic change, and that will create a generative change for you in your life and in the world. Anger takes you out. Yes, anger feels very threatening in the chat room. Yeah, okay, so anger feels very threatening to me. So are you talking about when you get angry or when someone else gets angry? Does it feel threatening to you when it's delivered at you? Or are you saying that it feels threatening to you when you are angry? So if anger feels threatening to you when someone is using it to you, like is projecting anger at you, is angry at you, you can ask a question. Okay, what am I aware of? What am I aware of that this person is doing? Are they trying to control you? Are they trying to put you into reaction? What's happening there? And yeah, what am I aware of? Okay. Let's just take a break. You are listening to Messy Adventures in Living. We are talking about the potency of anger today. What is right about your anger that you're not getting, and what have you misidentified and misapplied as anger that's actually potency that you could use to change the world? Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Do you wait until all the traffic lights are green before you get in your car? Of course you don't. Are you waiting until you have everything perfect to begin living? Most of us have learned not to take any steps until we have all the information to make the right choice. What if the opposite is true? What if it's choice that creates awareness? Are you willing to make lots of messy choices so you can begin to see the possibilities that you didn't even think existed? Listen for Messy Adventures in Living radio show with self-declared messy living expert Petrina Fava every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific on a2zen.fm. How much more expansive would your life be if you were willing to get messy with your choices?
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that when run assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bars session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
You're listening to Messy Adventures in Living with Petrina Fava. To participate in today's show, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. In the UK, 033-0001-0625. Or you can Skype us at a2zen.fm. You can also ask questions or comment by email by sending to Petrina at petrinafava.com. Now, here's Petrina with more Messy Adventures.
Welcome back to Messy Adventures in Living. Thanks for joining us today. We're talking about the potency of anger. So how much have we made anger wrong in this reality? And if we didn't make it wrong and we recognized where our anger is actually potency and where it's actually our awareness of the enormous amount of bullshit that is going on in this world and the lies that are being perpetrated in the world, if we acknowledged that our anger, that what we're calling anger is actually our intense awareness of the bullshit that is going on around us, and if we used it as potency, how much change could we create? Enough of making anger wrong. Anger is not wrong. It is also not right, but it can be used as potency to create change. So We were just talking before we went to break about what potency is not, and we were talking about how it's not control. But we are going to take a caller. Actually, I believe it's Josephine that's on the line. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Hi.
Hey. Hi. Thanks for calling.
Thank you so much. This call has been just such a big help to me today. I actually asked a question in the universe, and boom, there it was. So thank you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So one of the things that I've been thinking about as you've been talking is how, I grew up in a family where my dad was exploding almost constantly, whether it was about the dust on the table or, the day he had at work and how people were pissing on him or being mean to him, because he was an immigrant from Sicily and he spoke broken English, so he didn't quite fit. Plus he was hugely aware and not quite adept at using his anger in the form of potency. So it's just that's part of the reason why it's been a huge contribution, but part of what's coming up for me is all the memories of all of that and all the times where I was a part of his reaction and everything that I kind of learned from it, so to speak. You know what I mean? All the sort of automatic stuff.
Okay, cool.
So I'm wondering how to clear that.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, you said that your dad was really aware. So so great that you can acknowledge that, and what a gift that is to yourself and also to him, that you can acknowledge that he was really aware, because of course that was the first thing that I was thinking too. It's how aware was he of how aware was he of the lies, right? This thing about the lies, I feel is so huge with this thing about anger. We're I feel it with myself too. When you're so aware of all the lies, this thing just comes up, and we call it anger. But it can be potency. So how aware was he of all the lies, the bullshit of his reality, of this reality, of everything? And, did he learn that anger was wrong, or did he learn that anger was right even? I mean, my family is from an Italian background too, actually also from Sicily. That's kind of cool. And
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I know. There is this rightness to anger, right? So there is this thing about being right in your anger, and that's not really helpful either, because as soon as you start going to right or wrong, then that it takes you out of awareness. So my other thing when you were talking was also how much you said memory. So how much of that, his outbursts, his explosions, how much of that did you lock to your body? Yeah, and
I'm literally aware of it in my body right now, exactly where it is.
So everything, all of the anger that you're holding onto for your dad, all of the places where you were the sponge for him, will you please destroy and create all of that and return it to sender and release all of your and vows and fealties and communities to healing him of his anger and to absorbing. I feel there's this energy of absorbing, this just I'll just absorb it. So everything.
Sorry, I burp when I clear stuff.
Awesome. You destroy and create all of that.
Yes.
All right, wrong. Wow. Good and Pontiac on shorts. Who were you protecting?
My mom, because he was assaultive to her and my brother and my sister and me, and the animals in the house. I was protecting everybody. I was the protector and everything that is.
Yeah, so everything that is, everywhere you were trying to protect everyone else in your family from his explosions, and therefore you took it on into your body, and all the distress and disease that's creating in your body. Would you like to destroy and create all that?
Yes, please. Wow.
Right, wrong, good and bad. Pontiac, all nine stories and beyond. Is he still around, your dad?
No, he's in spirit, but he's with us right now on this call. I know he is. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
so
that's why I'm not surprised that he chose you to help you with this.
Awesome. So yeah, so what is holding on to this creating for him now?
Right.
So, would you be willing to give him some peace with this by letting it go? And
yes.
Yeah, how much of a contribution would that be to him and his spirit? And it doesn't allow that in Credo.
Yes.
Pot and Pock on the Church, Boys and Beyond. Cool. And all of the automatic response systems that you have locked into your body around this, because you talked about, you mentioned something about automatic. The automatic response systems that are still functioning related to this. Will you destroy and uncreate all that?
Yes.
Right. All night. There's some energy of it's not rightness or justification. It's that is something about like his anger created results or something. There's some energy of like results. I get results when I get angry.
Well, he was like controlling, and you can push your way to get something done.
Yeah.
You intimidate someone, but that's certainly not the way I think. I mean, that's not the way I choose to operate in the world. Although I have to, I guess I have to. But
yeah,
but he did it
that's the word there. Thanks, that I was looking for, is intimidation, and that is something that potency is not. Potency is not intimidation, right? It's an intensity.
Right.
You can deliver an intensity, but it's not intimidation. And how you know is that after you deliver that intensity, then you can be the sweet, kind person that you are. You can just deliver. And I don't know if you have kids, but like I practice this with my kids all the time because I have really judged myself for getting angry with them, and then I've been looking at this. What's anger and what's potency?
I've done that with my stepchildren and my cat even.
Yeah, and also, how much did he judge himself for all of it?
Huge, because then he would go to like church on Sunday and literally come home crying, and worse, he would cry in church, and then he would come home even more of a monster because he would go into shame and doubt, and I mean not doubt, but like shame and like regret and all of that. Like,
in Access, we know, are also distractor implants.
I know.
So all of the distractor implants underneath all of this, all of those energies that are still running underneath all of this, all the guilt and shame that he had with this, and that you were all very aware of, can we destroy and uncreate? And right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyond. Awesome.
And then there was this weirdness that, like, because I was so aware of exactly where he was going, I literally just wanted to hug him. I just wanted to hug him and tell him it was okay. But how could I do that when he was, like, hurting us and hurting me and hurting himself? Like, it was this, I don't even know how to describe that energy.
Yeah.
But, like,
well, did you know?
Crazy making.
No, but it's not crazy, and that's cool. And, I mean, how much were you not acknowledged for your awareness? And if you were... Yeah. Right? And if you were, would you have been willing to do what you knew was required to change it, which was to give him a hug? Right? So all of those opposites, like all of that conflictual universe of like, well, if I don't hug him, then that's going to mean that what he did is right. And like, who knows where you picked that up? But actually,
my mom probably.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Can you acknowledge how aware you were of what was required, even though it wasn't what this reality or your family told you was the right response?
Right.
Yeah. So everywhere you're unwilling to acknowledge, everywhere you were made wrong for your awareness, and were not able to acknowledge what you knew was going to create a change, can you destroy and uncreate all?
Yeah.
Off, right, and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. So can you give him
I just want to reach to the phone and give you a big hug. And
oh, I was just about to say,
you.
Can you give your dad a really big hug now and tell him it's okay and tell him that he is awesome and that he was so aware, and thank you for the gift of your awareness, Dad. And
absolutely.
What gift has that been in your universe? You know, all of that anger that everyone judged him for. You know, what gift has that been to you now that you have the tools to see what it really is? Awesome.
And it's so interesting, Petrina, because he he grew up in a similar household, of course, right? Because sometimes that stuff gets passed on from generation to generation. And so what he's saying to me now is that's why he loved his dad so much, even though his dad was so abusive to him.
That's why.
And I never got it.
Mm.
Yeah, I never got it. He said it was a way to simmer him down. You know?
So what was a way to simmer him down?
To love him was a way to simmer him down. But what I always saw was, oh my God, how could you be so kind to someone who was so brutal to you? And it pissed me off because it was like, if he wasn't brutal to you, then you wouldn't have been brutal to me.
Right.
Why do I have to be nice to him?
Yes, thank you for that, because that is also comes up around this thing about using anger as opposed to using love. Like, that's what the conversation is happening in the world right now around, let's say, for example, the shootings that just happened.
Right.
And so there's this polarity, right? It's like either we use anger and potency or we use love and kindness, and there has to be one. And one's going to work and one's not. And we know that this doesn't work because what's required in each moment is different. So that's a great example, and that's so reflective of what's happening in the world too. And who says that there's not potency in kindness? I mean, we're talking about the potency of anger, but my God, the potency of kindness. And who says they can't coexist? Because remember that we're mislabeling anger here, right?
Right.
Your dad could have just delivered an intensity, but he was judging it. And this is what I notice with my kids too. Like, if I know there's a lie, and I acknowledge my potency, and then I go to deliver an intensity, as soon as I judge it, that's it. It doesn't create the result that I want, because now it doesn't create a greater result, because now I'm judging it, and I'm judging myself. And God knows my kids know when I judge myself. Right? So
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, they sure as hell do. So the potency of anger and the potency of kindness can actually coexist. Like that potency of like, no, I'm aware of a fucking lie and I'm going to change this shit. And the potency of anger, the potency of kindness, they can actually coexist, and they can create a really cool result if we don't judge it. Damn, judgment. We judge everything, and then we just, if we just didn't judge what was in front of us and acknowledge what we know, I mean, the change that we could create could be awesome, very incredible.
And when you say judge, you mean like judge it as wrong.
Yeah, judge it as wrong. Exactly. Like, well,
judge ourselves as wrong.
Yeah, like
for having expressed it.
I'm so bad. I'm so angry. I'm yelling at my kids. Like, like your dad was like, oh my God, I have to go to church. Like the shame, the blame. If he had the tools to acknowledge that he was aware of a lot of lies in his universe.
Well, now he does.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks to you. Thank you so much.
God.
Such a contribution to me. Such a blessing.
Oh, thanks for calling.
You.
I'm so grateful.
Sure. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Oh, so good. Love this conversation. So just looking at the potency of kindness, and I love that. I was actually wanted to get to that. So thank you, Josephine, for the call and for getting us there. So anywhere we've decided that potency and kindness cannot coexist, let's destroy and uncreate all of that and invite that into our universes. And how can we use that to create massive change in the world? And everything that doesn't allow that, can we destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. So what does this look like? Let's talk about, what does anger as potency look like in real life? We're starting to get to that. There is no judgment with potency. There's no judgment. You are not judging it. If you can deliver an intensity and not judge it, then it will be effective to create change. There's no judging what's happening. So again, I'm going to go back to, what is in my world, whereas, with my children, I get this thing that we call anger that's coming up, and I can ask some questions. What lie? Is there a lie that I'm not aware of? Is this potency? Or is this a distraction implant? Is this a pattern? Is this like an automatic response system? And if it is, then I can use the clearing statement and POD and POC it, and then continue to ask about what's required. But if I know that I'm aware of a lie, then I can ask another question, which is, what's required now? Okay, I'm aware of a lie. This is my potency. Awesome. I'm going to acknowledge it, and now I'm going to ask another question. What's required? How can I deliver this as an intensity to create something greater? You can deliver intensity and then be sweet and kind to your children. So anger as potency is not a grudge. You don't hang on to it. You do. If you're holding on to anger and holding on to anger, it will poison you. That's not potency. Potency is delivering an intensity and then moving on. And you can be the soft, cuddly person you are afterwards if you like. Anger is not resentment and holding on. It's also not losing control and losing your shit, because that's what makes you unaware. There's no hatred to potency. There's no judging the other person for what they're doing. There's just a recognition something needs to change, that there's a lie, and the ability to deliver an intensity. There does not have to be a judgment of their action. There's no hatred. You don't make the other person feel like shit. That's not potency. The purpose of delivering something potent and delivering an intensity is to create a change for the greater. It's not meant to make the other person feel like shit or to make them feel wrong. So potency is not making the other person feel wrong or making them feel like shit. It's about delivering an intensity in order to create a change, in order to create something greater. Awesome. Staying aware. If you are in rage, you are being stupid. You are being unaware. You are being clouded. Something else is taking over. That's not anger as potency. You should be able to stay aware while you are delivering something potent, something intense. So if you find yourself angry and completely clouded and just like you're losing your shit and you're losing your mind, please ask, who or what is trying to control me right now? And if I was truly being me, who would I be? And demand that you show up and refuse to be controlled by any energy, anything else. Awesome. So, actually, there's a very cool quote about that by Patricia Briggs. Anger is stupid, and stupidity will kill you more surely than your opponent's blade. I like that quote because it talks about in Access, we equate stupidity with unawareness. So potency is an intensity that's delivered that can create something greater, that can create a change. It's an intensity that can just be delivered to create a change. If your kid was crossing the street, you could intensely yell to them, stop. And then to create a change, you don't have to judge it. You don't have to make them wrong. You don't have to talk about it anymore. You just need to deliver the intensity that is required to create that change. Anger, though, is stupidity. Anger is stupid, and stupidity will kill you. Unawareness will kill you more surely than your opponent's blade. So, potency, intensity has a lightness to it. Yeah, thank you, Rhonda. As a deliverer, yes, thank you. So Rhonda in the chat room was just talking about how potency and intensity is lighter than anger, which is filled with judgment and hate and fury, which often in your body feels much heavier than just delivering potency. So let's look at not judging our anger, okay, guys, this week. And so here are some questions that you can ask whenever you feel something coming up that we have defined as anger. So some questions are for you to play with are, what have I decided is anger that it actually isn't? What is this a lie? What lie am I aware of, spoken or unspoken? So even if someone is telling you something that sounds like the truth, but you are getting angry, you can ask yourself, what is the lie, spoken or unspoken? And is that what I'm aware of? Is that what this is? Is this anger as my lie detector? How can I use this as potency to create change? And look at all, or is this clouding my judgment? Is this anger making me stupid? And you can use the clearing statement to pot and pock all of your anger as distraction. So thank you so much for joining today for this very cool topic, the potency of anger, and what if you used your anger to change some shit in this world. Goodbye.
Thanks for playing with us on Messy Adventures in Living. Petrina Fava will return next Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Mountain, and 6 a.m. Pacific on a2zen.fm. We'd love to have you join us again. Until then, have fun creating your phenomenal life, mess and all.